record. Hello, Miss Tania Kolar. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you, my dear. It's good to be here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here today. We got a lot to talk about. I'm pretty excited about it. So before we get going, I want to just
I'm a coach. I specialize in, success and mindset coaching. I'm an author. I wrote a book called Breaking the Stupid Mold, which is really about helping people overcome limiting beliefs, the limiting blocks that we have, and helping them to live the extraordinary life that they truly were meant to live. I'm also a speaker. I love to help people become the best versions of themselves. So I do that through my coaching programs, my online courses, my books, my seminars, and also my webinars as well. And of course, when we get back to the live platform, doing the live events as well is another vehicle in which I can help people to really, undo a lot of the limitations that they have placed upon themselves. Because really, at the end of the day, we all want more success. We all want to be better, to move forward. And the biggest block to that is our belief about ourselves and the limitations that we place on ourselves that really keep us stuck and immobile, essentially.
Okay, that's a perfect topic I want to talk about. So we're going to talk about limited beliefs. Yeah, that's a big one, and I think you hit the nail right on the head when it comes to that. I think that's what keeps us stuck. And for so many people, I know myself, limiting beliefs too, as well, has been plaguing me. So I want you to really tell us about what is a limiting belief, and how do we develop these things?
Excellent question. And certainly a wonderful topic. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
Perfect.
Yes, because, we can start to, reverse engineer some of those limitations that have accumulated. So a limiting belief is a belief that we have about ourselves that blocks us from having the life that we want. It is that belief that I'm not good enough, I don't deserve, I'm too stupid, I'm not smart enough, I'm, fill in the blanks, whatever that is for you. There are so many limiting beliefs that hold us stuck in place and stuck in a comfort zone, essentially, as well. Because someone, usually other than ourselves, have defined what those blocks are. So a limiting belief.
I'm just going to interrupt you there because it's okay. Someone, is that basically, it starts with our parents? Does that basically kind of get that family of origin stuff?
Thank you, mom and dad. Absolutely.
Okay, here we go.
Fact,
We go down this rabbit hole, are we?
Yes, we are. But in fact, we go in and dig a little deeper because,
Okay.
It doesn't just start with your parents and, the poor parents get the blame, but they're not to blame. They are in the exact same position that you are in. Everybody, because they have now picked up limiting beliefs from their parents. So limiting beliefs, they go way back, and we pick up this through ancestral DNA. So it's passed on through generation to generation. So the thoughts and beliefs and the ideas and the habits and your patterns that you're having today are very much related to your ancestral makeup. And it is those beliefs that we have picked up on, and we pick them up through, mimicking behavior as children, of course. That's how we learn. We certainly are going to mimic the behavior of the people who are around us, on a constant basis. So of course, your parents, teachers, caregivers, what have you. And so we start to believe that those things that we believe about ourselves are true. And so I'll give you an example.
Yeah, please.
At about the age of 4, I locked into a limiting belief. I held on to a belief at the age of 4 years old that ran my life for decades. So I believed as a child that I was stupid. I was not smart enough. And so because it was one thing that was said to me that dictated my entire life. So now all of my actions and behaviors were molded and shaped around that limitation, that falsehood that I absorbed and adopted to be true. Now, these are limiting beliefs that, I witnessed my parents' belief. And so their behavior, of course, was also depended upon that belief for them. And so that was passed down to me. So think about this. Like, you know, I always ask people to start to recognize their language patterning. This is
Okay.
going to
Yeah.
give you a really good indication as to what your limiting beliefs are. Because here's the thing, is that most people have absolutely no idea what their limitations are, what their limiting beliefs are, because they run silently in the background.
So
In my
it's
book,
basically their subconscious mind.
yes, in the
So it's all
subconscious.
subconscious that it's the program that's running the show.
It's the program that's running the show, and the subconscious mind is about, you know, 30,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. So, you know, one thing that we want to really start to do is to reprogram the subconscious mind. And we'll get into that a little bit more, but I really want to explain what a limiting belief is and what a mold is. My book is
Okay.
called Breaking the Stupid Mold.
All
And
right.
so
Fantastic.
for me, what a mold is the accumulation of negative thoughts, negative habits, patterns, and beliefs. They all get, you know, lumped into this mold, so to speak. It's very malleable. You know, it's shaped and formed by whatever we choose to put into it. So, you know, you're going to spend a lifetime of putting all of these limitations and limiting beliefs, but the same ones keep coming in and keep coming in and keep coming in. So what happens that over time, there is no more room for anything else because that's all there is. And so that becomes fixed and solidified and hardened and immovable until broken. And so it is our job to be able to now start to become aware of what our limitations are so that we can break that mold, the mold of what other people have told us, the mold of what we believe to be true because of what somebody else has decided to be true for them. And it's not our reality, it's someone else's false reality that is now dictating your life. And so there is no way, there's absolutely no way that you can be the best version of yourself when you're holding on and you're locked into a mold. So my job as a, you know, mindset mentor, as a coach, is to really help people start to uncover the beliefs that they have, the beliefs that are keeping them locked and fixed in a place that they don't want to be, that they don't enjoy, that they've just decided is enough for them because they're not good enough to move to the next phase because of these beliefs that we have. And that right there, the belief that I'm not enough is the biggest limiting belief facing the planet. You know, so many people really hold on to that belief and feel that it's so true. And I, by the way, I speak from experience. I had that belief, and I had many limiting beliefs deeply, deeply ingrained into my being that, you know, again, ran my entire life. And it was, you know, a challenge, you know, to move forward, right? I mean, that's one of the things though that is so key is that you have to continually move forward, right, to pass through. But a limiting belief keeps us stuck and immobile.
Okay. Yeah, that's okay. So the question I want to ask you, because there's just so many good little nuggets in there I wanted to go touch on, but there's just, let me just think of one in particular. And the mold you talk about. So we get basically, if I could just, I'll try to paraphrase a bit, is that we kind of get this mold we develop where the thoughts, beliefs, actions, and things like that, and again, they get reinforced through, you know, actions and beliefs and things from, you know, the outside, and then just kind of reinforces our own negative beliefs. Is that correct on that assumption?
Yeah, so they are your negative beliefs.
They are my negative beliefs. So what was the one thing that got you started? Because I know a lot of people, they just kind of go off in their life and they don't realize that they're stuck. Was there a certain incident or a certain thing that happened in your life that kind of flicked that switch? They go, oh, something's not working here. I need to fix this. I need to figure out what's happening. And then how did you get started in like the thinking it's a limited belief?
Well, you know, the answer to that is yes, absolutely. I had a big shakeup in my life that really altered my world. And so many years ago, I experienced a traumatic event. I was attacked by a stranger, and it was you know what some would consider to be quite you know, violent. The police actually had believed that somebody was hired to kill me because of the severity of that attack. Now, through that, I had post-traumatic stress disorder. But it was really interesting that event really started to shed a light on my limiting beliefs. So what again, some would consider to be, you know, a terrible or horrific event. Now, I certainly wouldn't wish it upon anyone, or, you know, not necessarily want to go through it again. However, I wouldn't take the experience back for what it taught me. So what it taught me,
Oh,
Mike,
wow.
is that I was so stuck in a false reality, living a world that wasn't worthy of the world that I wanted to live in and the person that I am. And so through that experience, I started to listen to, I became hyper aware of everything. So I think, you know, that's one of the benefits there. I was, you know, in a state of hyper arousal, but that also allowed me to really start connecting with what was going on in my mind. So there was an incident that I had that, you know, one of the police officers, and there was a team of, you know, officers working on this because they believed the person, you know, but he was extremely violent and they wanted to ensure that he didn't do it again. And they said there was a high chance that he would do it again to someone else or to me again, or what have you. And so they came to me one day to tell me they made a mistake. And so
Wow.
here's,
Doesn't
yeah.
sound so good.
But listen to how our minds can start to create the reality that we believe to be true rather than what is actually here at present. So one of the police officers came to tell me they made a mistake, and the mistake was that they had mixed up documentation that was for the police only, and my personal information was accidentally given and handed out to the public. So what was meant for police eyes only was handed out to the public.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because they were looking for this person and, you know, a certain particular area that they believed he lived in.
Wow.
Yes. And so what I heard, here's what I heard, because let's keep in mind, my limiting belief is I'm not enough. I don't deserve. So when she told me that they made a mistake, first thing I said in my head to myself is that, well, of course they made a mistake. Who am I for them to be helping me? There has to be somebody more important to help. And so when I, you know, was not quite clear and I asked her to repeat herself, then I finally understood what she was saying. But it was in that moment that I realized what a ridiculous thing for me to start thinking about. That I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy enough of the police help to apprehend a violent criminal. And so it really started to make me super conscious of now what I was thinking at any given moment. So I started to recognize a pattern. And I always encourage people to do this, is to start looking for the patterns. And you can do that through, you know, becoming conscious and tapping into what you are thinking at, you know, at any given moment, or by journaling, writing things down. You know, go back and circle what you've written, and you'll start to see that there's certain things that come up all the time, not just a couple of times, but there will be things that come up constantly. The language that we're telling ourselves, whether we're speaking it out loud or thinking it inside, you know, our minds, it is affecting the quality of our life. So for me, all of those limitations that I had were, you know, really present in that moment, but they're present in every moment. We just don't realize it. You know, I call it the silent dictator, you know, buried in the subconscious that is controlling your thoughts, actions, and behaviors, right? Because of, again, this, you know, made up falsehood, a false world that we're living in, that somebody else has decided for us because they believe that they weren't good enough and that they didn't deserve, or whatever, again, those limiting beliefs are.
Wow. That's intense. Wow. I mean, the insight to something like that, because most people would probably just go in and retreat into it like a shelter. They're even more regress back into that mold that you keep talking about. But you had the insight and awareness to kind of, it's like, okay, this is a learning lesson. This is a situation where we can actually take this and just kind of open it up and see what's really going on. Now, with a lot of your clients, do you find them also having similar events where not, you know, obviously an attack, but having some sort of traumatic event to kind of trigger their, okay, I need to get something done here. They had that cathartic release. There's that trauma or something that happens that finally kind of says, okay, I need to get this fixed. Something's going on here. and they come to you for coaching. Do you find that type of pattern?
Yes, 100%. So the interesting thing is that limiting beliefs, are sometimes born from trauma. And what could be considered a trauma to a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, right, is completely different to what an adult would experience. So a trauma could mean something as simple as that, you didn't get to play with that favorite toy that you wanted, or your neighbor took it or whatever, and you felt deprived. So they are born, out of trauma in some cases, and certainly a traumatic event really start to help us to become aware of what those limitations are. And to me, that is a beautiful thing. Awareness is so important. And when you can become aware of what your limiting beliefs are, then you're already 75 to 80% of the way there. And the rest now starts to unfold, more organically. It's the hardest part is in, having that awareness and really starting to take a look. And sometimes people are motivated more so through a traumatic event that really shakes up your world. And it just starts to, change your neural networks, because we're so used to the same thought patterns and the habits and those beliefs that we hold on to, that unless you have a big shakeup, you're going to continue to stay stuck in that mold. As we start to change our thoughts and our patterns, our actions start to change from there as well. And we're creating a new cluster of neural networks in the brain. So it's a way to reprogram the mind. And so we can start to create the reality that we want to have versus the reality that we've been resigned to believe that we can have, and what is good enough for us. And, it's about, really understanding that you are so much more than you believe. And I really help to work with people to help them expand the belief of who they think they are and what they're capable of achieving. And that's where it begins.
Wow, that's amazing. So I know obviously you call yourself the mind mentor. You're changing minds. So can you just speak to, just briefly, I don't want to get too much into neuroscience and the neuroplasticity of the brain and stuff like that, but can you just touch on that just a bit for the people listening, because, it seems like those real buzzwords out there, and sometimes it can be just so much information. You kind of go, what are they talking about? Neurons and changing things like that. So just kind of break it down, kind of real basic, just I know for myself too, because I don't have a lot of big background in, neuroplasticity and neuroscience, stuff like that. But a lot of it has to do with that too, as well. And I guess the big quote I always keep hearing is neurons that fire together, wire together, is one of the quotes I always keep hearing. So can you just give us a little touch on that, please?
Yeah, and and in no means am I, an expert on, neuroscience, but however, I have spent decades of studying the mind, and so I have the knowledge that I have, and I have put into practical use, what I can share with everyone. That has been so helpful for me, and has really truly been a game changer, literally changing my life through changing my thoughts and reprogramming the mind. So, you talked about that neuroplasticity, but just to keep it really simple, the brain is plastic, it's like plastic, so it's malleable. It can be changed. There was a time where, we thought, well, the brain is the brain, you can't change it. You've got your smarts and that's it. You're resigned to being so intelligent or what have you. And that's not true. We can certainly learn. We can learn new things. When we learn new things, we literally start to change the dynamic and the shape of the brain, like in terms of the neural network structure. And so they say, as you said, thoughts that fire together, wire together. And so that's the same thing that I was referring to when I said a cluster of neural networks. So the cluster of those neural networks, so the repetition of the thoughts that you have are going to create more of those same thoughts, right? And it's just going to continue to grow. And so now if you're stuck in all of these limiting negative thoughts, then that is what's going to continue to grow. But if we now start saying, all right, I want to now create a new cluster, new thoughts, new patterns, and then start to create and build upon that, that's where you can start to now reprogram the mind. Now, of course, as children, we are much more, our brain is much more plastic and malleable quickly. and as we age as adults, it slows down a little bit, but it absolutely can always be changed to help you now start to, again, create a life that you love. Start to recognize your patterns. And if you recognize those old patterns that are not serving you, the job is to override those patterns. And so one thing in terms of, reprogramming the mind is imprinting the subconscious. And you can do that through affirmations, repetition. Okay. So great. I mean, repetition is truly a game changer. And so when you start repeating things, and even though you may not believe it to be true in that moment, when you keep telling yourself the same thing over and over and over again, you will start to shift, and your mind will start to believe it. Because here's the thing, is that the mind, does not know the difference between what is real or what is imagined. So you're creating the same physiology in the body. You're creating that same emotional state. And therefore, the brain doesn't know what is real or what is just imagined. So the idea here is that to start imagining what we want. When we're faced with situations in life that feel crappy, right? We've all had them, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, a few of those.
Yeah. So when we start to face those moments, it can be really hard to get out of it because we're so locked into the same thoughts and the same negative beliefs. And so we now have to try to, move through that, start changing that so that we can now focus our thoughts in a way that serves us versus, destroys us or, keeps us from reaching our goals and our desires and from truly having, a happier, fulfilled life. I think what's really important for everyone to know is that you are meant to have an extraordinary life. Everyone is. We're here on this beautiful planet. It's an extraordinary world. You are an extraordinary human being and you are meant to have an extraordinary life, but we get in our own way through the limitations and limiting beliefs that we have.
Wow. That's amazing. That's one thing I inspired about doing this channel too, is just getting those little pieces of nuggets to inspire people. That was very inspirational. I appreciate that. So again, the main thing is just repetition. So it's practice. So it's like anything else. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So whether it's like you're saying, it's driving your car, or playing a game or playing the piano, it's those thought process that continue on and continue on. So I want you to talk about briefly, just about affirmation. What is an affirmation? Because I know you talked about that briefly. Just maybe give an explanation on what an affirmation is.
So an affirmation is, a statement that we tell ourselves. And so an affirmation, by the way, can be positive or negative. And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't do affirmations. Well, you probably have quite a few that are going on in the back program in your mind, but you don't realize it. So those are negative affirmations. So we wanted to start to repeat a positive statement. It's like a declaration, perhaps of what you want or what you aspire to be. Let's say, for example, you have a belief, like as many people do, and this is why I love to say this one. And again, I've had this belief deeply, deeply ingrained that I am not enough. So if you can now switch that to I deserve, simple. And those words truly changed my life. And, it's not going to change your life if you say it once. It's again.
Really? Oh, darn.
Had that, answer to say that's all you have to do, but it does take work. You said that it takes work, and it does take work, but it's a beautiful journey, and it's work that will pay you, so much. It's invaluable, and you deserve that for yourself. So simple. I said, I deserve. I kept repeating this over and over and over again. And then I started to believe it. I really started to shape the mind, to reprogram what was going on inside, so that now I could let in experiences that were connected and on that same vibration of the belief that I deserve. Instead of I'm not enough, who am I? I'm a nobody. I don't deserve anything. See, there's a huge shift in emotion from those feelings. So when you start off by repeating an affirmation, again, you start to give it strength. you know, where your energy goes, your focus goes, right? Where your focus goes, I should say your energy goes. So you
Okay.
want to create and continue that energy of what you want, not what you don't want. So affirmations are beautiful in that regard, and to help you achieve the goals that you want, or the, you know, the attributes that you wish you had. And oftentimes, you know, you have those attributes anyway, you just don't believe them. So one thing that I say to people who have trouble trying to figure out, you know, what their qualities are, because when you have a belief that you're not enough and you don't deserve, and who are you to think, you know, you deserve anything in this planet, you know, you're not going to be able to recognize your gifts and talents. Okay. And
Okay.
so I think it's so important for everybody to know that you have them. And if you can't recognize them in yourself, look at somebody who you admire. Take somebody, your favorite person, you know, the person who is a great inspiration to you, if that means something to you, right? Or whatever the value is for you. If it's a great parent and you admire somebody's, you know, maternal or paternal skills, take something that you admire in someone and list, you know, at least 5 things about that person.
So
5
is that
things.
the same thing as modeling?
Well, you know, modeling would become the next step, right? So
Okay.
this is first the awareness part, right?
Okay.
So you can take a look at these features, or these attributes that you want, that you can recognize in someone else. You know, let's say they're a great speaker, you know, they're inspirational, they're, you know, they're kind, they're generous. Whatever those things are, you know, start to write those down. And you can do this for a few different people that you truly admire. And then everything that you love about that person, you have that within you. You have it within you. And that's why you love it. And you can recognize it in someone else. But our limitations and the perception of who we are prevents us from actually seeing that.
Wow. Yeah, that's a wow. That makes so much sense. That's just so much clarity there. Like, I mean, it's so obvious. It almost seems like it's like, what, really? Is that kind of simple? Like, I mean, really? Now with affirmations, is it really that simple? You just kind of reverse the negative thought process in the brain. So that chatter, that talkative chatterbox in the back of your brain there. So you just want to reverse kind of what you're negatively saying and just kind of make it in a more positive frame of mind.
Yes. So, you know, it can be that simple, and then it also cannot be that simple. And I'll explain this.
Yes,
So,
please.
yes, you want to certainly, you know, have an affirmation that is powerful and that is positive. And so now you want to be repetitive on that, because it starts to build the energy of that, right? It starts to really help you believe it. But what you really want to do, one of the tricks to really supercharge your affirmation, is to add the feeling and the emotion to it. So when you
Okay.
can add the feeling and the emotion to it, you're going to expedite that in such a big way. And then so you really will now start to create that reality. Now, if you have an affirmation and you know you only do it, you know, once in a while, you're not giving it enough time to override that negative pattern. So when you utilize your affirmations, you want to do it daily. And whether that's in the morning, the evening, afternoon, or all of the above, you know, do them as much as possible.
Okay.
That's you know, ideal. And I would say, even like to say in the morning, if you can just do 2 minutes, just do 2 minutes of repeating whatever affirmation it is. Repeat it in the morning for 2 minutes, repeat it in the evening for 2 minutes. That's really going to give it some great momentum. And so, you know, is it just, 2 minutes here and there? Yeah, it can make a huge difference, versus no minutes and focusing on, you know, a day of negative beliefs. So again, remember that your subconscious mind is much more powerful than the conscious mind. So
Okay.
you don't have to spend, you know, all this time, you know, doing your affirmations for 24 hours a day, right? Because nobody has the time to do that, right?
Yeah.
But what
Okay.
we're doing is, by the affirmation and the repetition of the affirmations, and particularly by adding the emotion to it, is that you are now imprinting the subconscious mind. So you're
Okay.
reprogramming what's there.
Okay. Now, a lot of the information I've heard about and I've understood is that the best times is usually first thing when you get up, or first when you're just about to go to bed there, because when you start changing, your brain waves start to go from, you know, high beta into alpha and into more of that theta state, that kind of in between state between conscious and unconscious states and stuff like that. Now, also too, is I wanted to ask you about about the amount of affirmations. Is it just, can you do like 1 or 2? Do you have to do 10, or you want to do 100? Like, is there a limit to the amount that you want to do? Like, do you want to kind of keep it short and concise to make it easier? Or, you know, do you want to have like, you know, 50 affirmations you want to say a day? Like, is there a limit on that?
Well, that's a great question. And, you know, really the answer to that is that everybody is different. But what I will say is that especially when you're just starting out, you know, one affirmation is probably ideal for you. Start with one thing. And when you can start to see an improvement in that area, then you're going to move on to another one. Or at that point, you can incorporate another one. So you can now do the 2 affirmations. So you can bring on as many affirmations, but what you want to keep in mind, though, is that if you have, let's say, 2 affirmations that you're doing, because you've done one and you've, you know, had some result, and now you're adding another one. So you've got those 2 affirmations. You want to make sure that, you know, again, you are adding that emotion, and you really want to start to live in that space, because when you start doing affirmations and then you keep telling yourself, oh, there's no way, I don't believe this, I don't believe this, I don't believe this, then
Yeah, that sounds like my brain.
Yeah. Yeah, but do you hear this? Is that I don't believe it, I don't believe it, that is the affirmation that you're creating and you're saying. So it's not what you want. So you really want to be mindful of your focus, right? It's what you're focusing on. So again, I said at the beginning is that, you know, we use affirmations unknowingly some of the times, and they're negative affirmations. So I think really, you know, the key is to really start listening, right? Become aware of the conversations that you're having.
So that's basically the first step, is really, you know, it's like, so how do you really key in on that, maybe that one core, you know, negative belief, you know, that really is the core, the essential one, it's the one that's deep down rooted in our subconscious that really controls the rest of those negative. Like, how do we access that? How do we get in touch with that? You know, how do we find, you know, how do we figure that out? How do we be our own detectives and kind of go in there at the nitty gritty and go, okay, my life's sucking right now. I got to find out what the heck is causing me to be this way. You know, things are not working out for me. I got to figure it out. So how do we get into that part? How do we get access to that?
Great question. And I think there's so many people right now who can certainly relate to that. They know that there's something that, you know, is blocking them from living a better life, a life that they want to have, the one that they truly feel, you know, happy and fulfilled in, but they don't understand what it is. Now, I have several, you know, tips and techniques in my book, Breaking the Stupid Mold, that addresses that. It is available on Amazon if anybody's interested in that.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah. Actually, here, I'll just put it up, and I always
Thank you. You know, I was kind of like, you know, I was kind of putting it out there telepathically. I said, can you put your book up? Because you know, I have a copy of your book, but it's on my bookshelf behind, on the other side of my room. And it's like, oh, I can't believe I didn't bring it up, but thank you.
Yeah, focus. It was the focus, right?
Yeah.
But so, you know, there are many techniques in there that help you identify, you know, what those limiting beliefs are. But really, you want to start to be aware of your language patterning. It's the clearest way and the quickest way to start to recognize your patterns. And I'll give you an example from my own life. So I started to notice when I was starting to listen to things, starting to pay attention. So you make a commitment to yourself that you are going to start to recognize your language patterning, right? So just pay attention, and, you know, you may only start a little bit throughout the day. Maybe you only do it once, you know, throughout that day, but you'll start to realize that it's going to build. When you have the intention, when you set the intention to locate it, you will start to see it. And so I started to notice things that I would say, oh, I'm so disappointed. Something would happen. Oh, they disappointed me. Oh, here's another one. I was mortified. And I thought, okay, so and I'm saying these like I'm disappointed or mortified in a situation that was absolutely not mortifying or even disappointing necessarily. It's what I believe to be happening. So my reactions are already made up. I've already created my reactions. It's just now I'm waiting for that external stimuli to unleash my actions and my behaviors based on my thoughts. So it doesn't matter really what's happening in the external world. I'm going to think it's mortifying, or people disappoint me. I'm so disappointed. And I started to start recognizing this pattern. And I thought, well, is this moment mortifying? No, absolutely not. So what is mortifying? And so it's a past event that's happened that you now bring into every other event. And that's a classic example that we can see in relationships, particularly romantic partnerships, right?
Wow.
Because think about this, you know, if you've ever had an argument with a loved one, you know, your partner, spouse, what have you, you are, you know, maybe triggered by one thing, somebody said something, and you're now fighting, not about that one thing, you're bringing up the past 20 years, 30 years, and you're, you know, presenting and projecting that onto that moment. So that's an example of me saying I was mortified, because I'm now taking the 20, 30 years of experience into this present moment. So we need to also get present to the moment and look at, is it a reality? Is this a reality in this moment, or is it my thoughts based on the falsehood that I believe to be true?
Wow. So what was the inspiration about writing your book? Where did it come from? Because it's a, you know, it's a fabulous little read, you know, for those who are really interested in this type of work and really want to get to the nitty gritty of, you know, a lot of it is like that really self-healing. You know, my own personal journey, I just like to say too, you know, it hasn't been easy. It's not fun, you know, but the rewards have been tremendous, you know, stuff like that. And when I have somebody that I know that's written a book that's very inspirational and really helps people in that self-help thing, you know, I really commend them on that. But I really want to make sure that, you know, people out there get a chance to read the book too as well. So if you just give me a little bit about the book itself and the inspiration behind writing it too as well.
So the inspiration for writing the book is that I personally have learned so much throughout the years, and I've changed, you know, dramatically from who I was many years ago. And I found such great inspiration through other people's stories. I love to read, of course, in the space of personal development and self-help. I love it. I've just been absolutely addicted to books. I can't get enough. And I've learned so much, again, through other people's experiences and just through books and, you know, on everything, you know, the mind and what have you. And I felt that there's a reason that I've learned all this knowledge. There's a reason that I have gone through the challenges that I have gone through. And I inherently know that my biggest challenges in life are my greatest gifts, and that I can help other people. You know, the problem is that so many people feel alone, and they struggle through life feeling so isolated, feeling that they're the only one going through, you know, these awful experiences. But you're not alone. Everybody is going to have challenges in life. And of course, those challenges look different for everyone, and how we handle them, you know, are all different. So we can't say, hey, you had this experience, so it's going to be the same as this person. No, you are an individual. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, we have so many different things, like say, okay, yeah, did you have a loved one die? And you go, yeah, we can do that. But again, like you're saying, it's going to be different from your experience and my experience, and depending on the connection of the individual, you know, how close you were and everything else. You know, if it's your, you know, let's say you're a person that wasn't very close to you, it's not going to be as difficult as somebody that you had a really deeper connection to. So even though we have similar experiences, again, they're all going to be different, because we have our own filters too, that kind of deal with, you know, these certain situations at the same time. But yeah, it's a fabulous read. You know, I really commend you on doing that book there. So one of the things I want to do about this podcast is to really kind of give something inspiration and motivational to the people out there. So if you had to kind of sum it up in a little bit and kind of say, you know, something, give them a little nugget today that they can do, that they can work on, something that's inspirational, give them a little bit of motivation, you know, say, hey, give them a little kick in the butt, you know, let's get this stuff out there. So if there's any little nugget you can leave us with on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, the first thing is to get out of your own way. Simple as that. Get out of your own way and start letting in the beauty that is there for you, because it's there for everybody, you know, but we block ourselves. And so, you know, just for a moment, I want to say that, you know, in writing my book, you know, I made it very clear, and I make it very clear from page 1. In fact, I write a letter to the reader at the beginning of the book. So anyone who is getting the book, Breaking the Stupid Mold, make sure that you read at the beginning the letter to the reader. And because I want you to know that It doesn't matter what your experiences are and what your challenges are. This book is for you. I didn't write this book for myself, although the book was extremely healing for me, you know, in the process of writing. And it was a challenge. It was tough for me to write this book. I mean, Mike, you've known me for, you know,
Yes.
about 20 years. I'm a very private person. And, you know, I keep my life kind of to myself, but you know, in this book, it's absolutely not private. I pour everything into this book because I felt so deeply that in order for me to really do what I want to do, and my mission is to help people around the world to transform their lives, to live a better life for themselves, then I need to be honest, because my story will help inspire you. My story will help you see the reality of your situation. So I really link things back in the book in ways that you can apply, anyone can apply to their own life. And so, you know, to leave people with the biggest nugget, I would say that you really need to look at your challenges as opportunities, because your challenges in life are your greatest rewards. And I know that when you're in the midst of those challenges, it feels awful and it sucks. Right?
I've been there a few times. Yeah, I so hear you on that. So that's amazing. You know, I always I kind of get envious in some ways of how you can be so open like that. You know, over the years, I know I myself, you know, I have my own stories and things like that. And, but I have a lot of friends that have written books that tell their story on that. And I just, you know, sometimes I go, maybe I should write down my story too, as well. And maybe I can help someone out. But instead of writing it down, I think I'm just going to use this podcast as a platform to kind of help people at the same time. But, you know, Tania, like you said, like I've known you for a long time, and where you've been and where you've come from, I mean, it just touches my heart. Like, it's just absolutely inspiring. Every time I see you speak and you talk and you're so passionate, like I literally get goosebumps when you do that. Like, it's really absolutely amazing. One thing for sure, do not stop what you're doing. You're absolutely a force to be reckoned with. You are an amazing human being. So please continue on with what you're doing. And also, just briefly, let everybody know where they can find you. Like, where can they find all your information, all the good stuff?
Wow. Well, you know, first of all, thank you for those beautiful words. And I can't do what I do without people like you, like-minded souls who are, you know, getting the message out there to help people. Because I think that, again, this is the greatest opportunity for us to all learn from each other, particularly in the midst of this pandemic, where we are starting to recognize that, you know, we all are so interconnected. It's so important to be able to share our stories. We all have a voice. We all need to be heard and to be validated. And so a platform like yours is a perfect opportunity to do that. So I thank you for that.
Well, you're quite welcome.
And so if anybody is interested in, you know, the book, my book, Breaking the Stupid Mold, is available on Amazon worldwide. Perfect. So you can have a look there. I have my online courses at taniakolar.com, so you can learn a little bit more about what I do.
Oh, so just, I don't want to, sorry to interrupt your thought, but can you just spell that out for everybody? Because I don't have any graphics yet. So
yeah, oh sure, yeah. Well, it's Tania, Tania, Kolar, KOLAR.com. So if you go to taniakolar.com, there's a tab, you know, up at the top that'll say My Academy. I have the Ignite Life Mastery Academy, which is where I have my courses, which are really helping people, you know, ignite their inner worth, unlock their potential, and, you know, and have a voice. Because again, we all have a voice. And, you know, I believe that everybody has a book within them. And so have the courage to speak your truth. And I can tell you from my own experience, it was a challenge for me to really, truly, you know, put everything in all my life and my emotions and my heart into my book. But it's been the greatest thing that I've ever done, because I know it's inspiring and helpful to other people. And so push past your comfort zone. You know, there's great strength in being vulnerable. And I was one of those people, like many of you listening right now, that believe being vulnerable was a weakness. And it's absolutely not. Again, these are stories that we've told ourselves that are not true. It's a complete and total lie.
Yeah, and especially for us men, you know, that's our basic programming. Is you can't be vulnerable, you can't be, you know, emotional and stuff like that. And, you know, I kind of call that now. It's like, that's bullshit. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's just, yeah, that's not the way it is. But anyways, my dear, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, because I know you got so many things on the go here, and I really appreciate you being on my show. For everybody, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Again, the Metaphysical Mentor. I'm your host, Michael Philpott, and thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.